Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. Now, this next guest, you've seen him before, you've heard him before. He's back for his sixth time, and this guest has endorsed every single one of my Rob Versus books, believe it or not. And the funniest one, oh man, his stuff is just unbelievable. So we're going to talk about the Gamlin effect. And the best person to talk about the Gamlin effect is Steve Gamlin himself. So welcome, Steve, and thanks for being here.
Hey there, Rob. Thank you so much for having me back again. Wow, 6 appearances. And I'll tell you what, I think my mom has the entire Rob versus fridge magnet set with all my reviews are just dotting her fridge door right now. And she just is thrilled every time I tell her, hey, Ma, I wrote another endorsement for Rob. Check this out. And she's like, she shakes her head because I try to make them funny, but also impactful and honest. And she just says, is this guy really like that? Yep. Read the book, Ma.
I'm still cracking up on the very first one you wrote for the Rob versus the Scammers book. And, it's like,
Yep. Yep. Like, was TSA for scammers or something like that?
TSA for Scammers and Rob's wearing the rubber glove. But, the reason I introduced you or introduced the Gamlin effect, which is, it is your life, it is your experiences. But the number one thing that I've learned from you over the years is honor your commitments. And you've taken that, from teaching people, vision board mastery, which is behind you, that the board, but also your DJ business. And we talked about, off air. And we've always said, our off air conversations are always better than the show conversations, but it happens.
Yep.
But, you were talking about your DJ business and you were shutting it down, but you're still honoring the commitments that you made to people, with, booking their DJ shows for the next, what, year or two.
Mhm.
And, you know, most people would just say, adios, I got your money. See you later. Find me in Bermuda or wherever, and they could care less. But it's that fact that you're honoring that commitment. And a lot of people right now during COVID, they're just bailing.
Yeah, that's happening quite a bit. And yeah, I've got two left. I officially retired the business at the end of September of 2021. But then a dear client, a venue that's actually fairly close to my home that I love playing at, a year prior had referred me to two of their brides whose weddings are in May and June of 2022. And when they reached out, I'd been referred a year prior. So they had no knowledge that I was shutting it down.
Hmm.
And we had such a great conversation. I said, I said, I'm not sure if they told you this or not, but I was actually tapering down my business. But we've had such a great conversation, and I respect the venue so much. I will make myself available if you would like to work together. And now we're honoring both of those. And
Hmm.
and I think it just comes down to your integrity. If you
Yeah.
got somebody out there who has grown to know, like, and trust you and is referring your service to other people, their reputation is on the line.
Yeah.
So I believe we need to honor that. Now, the venue has since learned that I have shut it down. They won't be referring further events, but I at least want to honor these two. And it goes back for me to about 12 or 13 years ago. There's a photographer that I knew down in the Boston area who decided one day to shut down his business and not honor the events that were already booked,
Right.
not give back one dime of deposits, and also not finish the photography and the proofs of any brides whose weddings he had already shot.
Mhm.
He just blew town with everybody's money.
Wow.
I could never do that.
Yeah, and COVID has filled the nation with people doing the same thing, and it's terrible. And people are like, well, who do I trust?
Yeah.
And it's I want to say you trust the people who have been in the business long enough, but even those are starting to falter. They're starting to make mistakes. And in fact, you can find a lot of them in the books that I write. The whole Rob versus series is just all based on lousy customer service. And people are like, well, Rob, there can't be that many people like that. Have you read my books? There's a lot.
It's not like Rob sits, takes, 18 minutes in the bathroom every morning and just says, what stupid thing could somebody do today? Let me write this down and let me just, perpetuate my own book. This is all legit. And you and I have had conversations where you reached out and go, oh my gosh, I just found one for the next book. And you tell me, and I'm like, write it down,
Yeah.
because truth is stranger than fiction. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it just happens.
And I share these stories out all the time on Facebook, and people are like, can that really happen?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It just did. See, you're the only person, um, opportunistic enough to see the value in this, to show the world what's really going on and have this unique spin in collection. I mean, how many people over the years, oh, Rob, that happens to me all the time. I always said I should write a book. Well, hey, Rob is, a number of books ahead of you now. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and then they'll say, well, why do you put your image on the book? Why not? It's, you know, what I've discovered is my personality is my brand, and people tend to, want to know more. And the thing is that when they read my books, they get a sense of who I am, what I do. When they meet me, they're like, oh my God, you're just like the person in the
Yep.
book. Oh, yeah, it's
Yep.
me.
Yep.
But then you get these books where you're reading them and they're like, okay, this is good book. Then you meet the person and they're completely different than what's in the book. And you're like, they didn't write it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why Larry Winget is one of my favorite people out there. He's known as the pit bull of personal development. Larry's an edgy guy. He's just, straight talk and all this and that. Well, my wife used to travel a lot for business, and she was at an airport, I believe down in the DC area. And she saw Larry in like the high end lounge of the
Mhm.
airport, because my wife had platinum everything. And she says, I saw your buddy Larry Winget today. Because I've had dinner at Larry's house and met him a couple times. And I said, well, did you go over and say hi? She goes, hell no, I don't want to wind up in his next book.
And that's what people are starting to. They're like,
That's exactly what I was thinking when
they're
I
like,
shared that. Yep.
Rob, but before I get going, I don't want to be in your next book. And then
Right.
they'll go into the problem that they're having. I'm like, do I put him in the next book?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be as much fun, but I'll still help you solve your problem, I guess.
Yeah, it's and the funny thing is that the books, it started out with the scammer book, and it was more of just me sharing a little bit of my personality, but trying to help people, fight off those scams.
Yeah.
And it just, I had so much material left over. I had to create the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and it's the sequel that just keeps getting funnier and funnier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because now I get the advanced copies because I want to be able to write the reviews
Hmm.
for the book. And I've literally, and this has happened with a couple of your books, been reading them and reached out to my mother-in-law, my stepmom, and my mom, because they're all in their 70s now, and said, if this happens to you, here's what to do.
Hmm.
Based on something that you shared about people, targeting the elderly,
Right.
or getting people to share some of their information or craft this story
Hmm.
that might get them to drop their guard. And I've read it in your book, and I've reached out to them. I put all three in a text group message and said, if this happens to you, don't do it.
Right.
I just know,
Yeah.
credit Rob.
It's getting worse and worse, and just this morning I had what looked like a a message from a legitimate Christian based firm reach out. They needed my help. But there's always some things that you have to look for when you get these emails, especially when, all the email print looks great up top. And you get to the very bottom and their signature line is very tiny, you know. And most people, most elderly aren't going to look past the first part. They're just going to say,
Mhm.
"Hey, I need your help." Oh, okay. Let me click the link. Yeah, okay. Don't
Yep.
click the link.
No.
But then I Google searched the phone number, and it was not matching up. Then I did some research on the person who was affiliated with, this message, and he's got all of these indictments, and he was extradited from Guatemala back to the States. And I'm thinking, I don't know if this guy's legit, but I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Delete.
yeah, they're just getting to the point where you don't know what's legit anymore. Um,
Yeah.
and it's as I'm getting older, I mean, I'm getting wiser because I've written all these books, but the elderly are just, oh, let me click, let me click. Oh,
Yeah.
and they're losing all their information. They're getting their accounts shut down. They're getting their money taken. And I wish there was more power that we could, have to shut these people down, but they're just going to start back up somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sad part of it. We try to educate ourselves, read your books,
Yeah.
and just be aware of what's out there. If something happens and it rings true because of something you read in Rob's book, guess what? Take Rob's advice. It's in the book for a reason. It's a scam,
Yeah.
or it's somebody who's just trying to be opportunistic or predatory. So if you doubt it, I mean, I've gotten on the phone with people before. Did you just send me an email? Nope. Okay, that's what I thought. Delete.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do your due diligence, and
Yeah.
but and I like to say do your due diligence to everything, but it's trust but verify. You know,
Yeah.
we want to be able to trust people, but we really need to verify that they are trustworthy to begin with.
Mhm.
And as we get out of this COVID nation, and we start to, I think, be more welcoming to other people. Um, I think that needs to be part of the whole vision board philosophy.
Mhm.
Is we've been trapped in our basements, we've been trapped in our houses, and for the last, well, 2 weeks became an eternity. But for most people, it's going on 2 years,
Yeah.
and people are like, well, I want my vision, my goals to work out, but I can't leave the house. I can't do this.
Yeah.
People in Australia are trapped. People in Austria, same thing. And a lot of the European countries, the people are like, I can't even go out my street without the cops ready to shoot me. And it's sad, but you have that process. You have that vision board mastery that I think goes beyond the conventional wisdom that other people teach.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of people now on Facebook, and they'll say, yeah, I went through all my magazines, cut out all the things that I wanted, I slapped them up on the wall, and that became my vision board, but nothing happened.
Yeah, that's pretty common. That's why I launched a T-shirt line, and on the back it says, "Friends don't let friends attend vision board parties." For that very reason, because I got so tired of hearing it like it was an arts and crafts project. I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, did you put glitter and macaroni on the edge too, and give a copy to your mom?"
Glitter and macaroni.
There's 10 in the program that I created. There are 10 steps, 10 modules, and
Mhm.
they're all short, but they're actionable. You don't gather pictures in mine until module 7, and that's what so
Step
many other
one,
people are missing.
get the macaroni.
You have a flashback to kindergarten like I did the first time I said it? I'm like, "Oh my gosh. How much macaroni did I waste and cost from Wednesday night spaghetti dinner?" But yeah,
No
so many people
macaroni was harmed in the making of this vision board.
well, just a few pieces. But see, so many people think that because that's the pervasive mindset. That's the instant gratification mindset that's out there. If you just slap it on there, all of a sudden it's gonna come knock on your door and just show up, and it takes all the personal responsibility out of it. It takes the drive out of it. It takes the dedication out of it. That's what too much of our society is like these days, the instant gratification. And then you get even worse, people that say, well, I wish I could just win $1 million. Did you buy a ticket? No. Well, maybe it's time your ass and the couch cushion get divorced and you go to the store and at least buy a ticket. Now, I'm not saying that's the great way to make a million, but
Right.
people are
Well,
saying they want something, but they won't even do the minimum effort to put
right.
themselves in the ballpark.
When I was 18, I worked at a video store, and all the managers would chip together. We would each give, $5 or something, go out and buy lottery tickets every week. And I'm thinking, okay, I just spent, over the last year, over, $250, and I didn't get nothing. And so, in that same respect, had you put that money into investing in yourself,
Mhm.
you could have been a lot further.
Yeah.
You're creating your own, opportunities, your own, what I consider my own lottery winning. You know, I might not have someone hand me this big check that says you won $1 million, but if I create the business that truly exemplifies who I am, I could be generating $1 million in my own business.
Yeah. And you said something really important in there, that it's an extension of who you are. If you
Mhm.
can go out in the world and do something authentically that you actually believe in,
Right.
in your people say, oh no, oh, passion is overrated. It's really not. I mean, to
Right.
the point where people are jumping up and down screaming, I'm passionate. That's a little much for me.
Yeah.
That's a little too unicorn, flying through the sky, farting rainbows for me. And I'm in the industry. But people who really dig what they do, and because they do it, they double down and they do their best at it. And they learn how to do it even better. Every year they get a little better.
Mhm.
Maybe they get taken more seriously in the marketplace because people finally see, oh my God, Rob knows his stuff. You're
Right.
20 years in
Mhm.
to your company. I'm 17 years into mine. And people are now sniffing around saying, well, maybe these guys do know what they're talking about. Or, oh my gosh, we thought Steve was, vision boards, ooh, arts and crafts. But here he is, living in a beautiful house with the most incredible woman he's been in love with for 14 and a half years, creating two successful businesses,
Mhm.
writing books and all these other things. Now 25 pounds down over the last 6, 7 months and eating healthy and being healthy and putting out better content than ever before.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to this whole system
Yeah.
that Steve was his first client for 17 years ago.
Yeah. One of the things that I always tell people is never rush the process.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that'll, hey, Rob, what's the silver bullet? I need that one thing that will propel me. Yeah, but until you understand the process, you can't rush it.
Yeah.
It'll happen when it happens. And I hate to tell that to people. It'll happen when it happens. And they're just like looking at their watch going, yeah, but when? Can you
Yeah,
give me
I'm
a
going to
date?
lunch, like, in an hour and a half. When I come back,
Yeah.
will you have the answer? If you just hand them a silver bullet, they're just gonna shoot themselves in the foot with it, and,
So
you
for
know
me, the journey's been 20 years, for you 17 years,
yeah,
and now all of a sudden people are like, "Whoa, Rob, you're so successful."
yeah.
It's like overnight success.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But you don't look at all the struggles I've had for the last 20 years to get to where I am now,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
You-
When I left the radio industry about 20 years ago, I mean, I blew up my radio career. My first marriage fell apart. I was 35 years old and just dead broke, living with family. And then people who haven't seen me in that many years see what's going on now, and they go, "Oh my gosh, Steve, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. You just sailed." And one of my earliest stage stories that people still ask me to share is, "Some days your phoenix rides a pogo stick." Meaning, you'll as long as you bounce higher every time, you'll be okay. But just understand, you're gonna fall back in the fire. You're gonna make a mistake. The world changes. COVID, look what happened over the past couple of years. We've both taken different hits in different types of ways and had to adjust. I've been dressing nicely from the waist up since March 2020. I've not been on a stage in front of a live event.
Mhm.
When I was able to, some people say pivot, that's a little overused, bounce my business off the wall a different way.
Every
Now it's
time I
actually
hear the
better than
word
it was
pivot,
2 years ago.
I can go back to the Friends episode where he's trying to take the sofa off the pivot.
See what happens when you use that word? That's why I say it my way. But I've just bounced my business off the wall a different way, and it cost me dearly in 2020 because everything shifted. But I've just figured out, now my program, instead of me delivering it in person, is available online, all 10 modules. I've got licensing for larger companies to use it for their teams, which is growing. I've got two different levels of coaching now that didn't even exist 2 years ago. And so all these things, but people see that and they go, oh, like the mighty phoenix. Yeah, I'm on my eighth set of tail feathers, but here's the thing: every time you screw up and then you learn and you fly higher, they grow back and the colors are more beautiful and they're also more durable
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
time.
and it reminds me of posts I saw earlier today where someone reached out, or they posted on LinkedIn, and then they were asking people questions of the relevance of being fired, and would you hire somebody who got fired? And I responded, before I became an entrepreneur, I got fired from, a whole slew of jobs.
Mhm.
Either I just didn't like them, or I just didn't. It wasn't relevant for me, or I was just, lazy or something. But here's the thing: is that, how I responded was, without being fired, it would have never motivated me to become an entrepreneur. I would
Mhm.
have never seen the bad side of working a job and decided, hey, enough's enough. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I'm glad I got fired from all those jobs because I've been an entrepreneur for 27 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and without that slap on the head saying, hey, you don't belong here, go do something else or go get fired somewhere else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be as successful as I am now.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I was in the radio industry for 10 years, and every 2 or 3 years, I get fired. My whole morning show would get fired. I was a producer. And every time, like the first radio station I was there, making 12.5 a year, which was ridiculously low, but I was working 60 hours a week to prove myself. Well, the
Mhm.
station got sold. We all get fired. So a couple months later, I landed at a bigger rock station, worked there for 3 years. They got sold. We all got fired. So every single time I said, let me take what I learned here. Let me go to the next place, make myself even more valuable.
Mhm.
Started winning awards. I mean, international awards for
Right.
comedy bits that I wrote, production that I created. And by the end of that 10 years, I heard rumblings that the owner of the third group of stations was going through a divorce and might have to sell. And that's when I bailed.
Mhm.
But I still have all the skills, which have now helped me to build 2 recording studios. This is my second one.
Wow.
Do audio production for other people. I do voiceover work now. I'm the voice of half a dozen people's podcasts, the intro and the outro, but all because of everything I learned every time I got fired. I just wanted to learn more and become more valuable each time.
The Gamlin effect right
The
there.
Gamlin effect right there. That's it. Just be better than you were yesterday. I don't compete with anybody else. I don't try to sound like anybody else as a speaker. I found my unique voice. I wasn't even really on the microphone live until my 8th year of my 10 years because I just didn't have the confidence.
Right.
And our morning guy quit, and the owner of the station was going to put back on satellite to save money. And I just raised my hand and said, guys, I've been in radio 8 years. I can do this. And then, leaned in parentheses and said, but I've never been on air. So they said, well, yeah, okay, well, it's been a little while. Why don't you take next week and just get your legs back under you? I'm like, okay, time to grow some legs because they
You
never
know,
were there.
and the thing is anybody who has a book, get Steve to do the audio. I mean,
There you go.
the,
I've done that as well. I'm out
voice
there.
over the whole audio book. I mean,
Yeah,
if you guys don't want to do it, there's your guy.
yeah. And I love doing it. I just love being the everyday guy voice.
Mhm.
I don't go into game show mode. Well, Rob, it was a dark and stormy night, and there's none of that out there. It's just this is who we are, and that's why I love being on your show because we're just 2 regular guys that we show
I'm
up
not,
and
I'm
we
not a
just share
regular.
who
I'm
we
not a
are.
regular guy. I'm
But we
offended
are.
now.
If I ran into you at the mall, we'd have the same conversation. That's what I mean by that. We're just authentic and genuine, regular us.
Yeah.
But but that's the truth. You even in the speaking world, I've been part of events with some pretty big speakers. Some of them we meet off stage and they're just like they are and they're great people. But other ones, you talk to them afterward and you're like, wow, you're kind of a jerk. you know, and yeah,
Yeah, and I like getting those. I was in San Francisco and I met this guy, and I'm having a conversation with somebody. I turned around and because I could overhear someone else's conversation, and I turned around and I gave my opinion, and then turned right back around. The guy goes, "You're such an asshole." I'm like, "All right." The funny thing is that over the last 2 years, I've had him on the show. We've become friends. You know,
yeah,
um, I'm not being an asshole to be an asshole. I'm just interjecting myself.
yeah,
And people are like, "Oh, okay, I get you now. Yeah,
yeah.
you're just that sarcastic asshole." I'm like,
Yeah. Well, you're like a human flare gun. Every once in a while, you turn on and you send this flare arcing over a conversation, and some days it catches fire. Some people go ooh, and some people, he just burned a hole in my coat, and they don't like that.
I like that. I'm gonna use
Hashtag human flare gun.
human flare gun. But I do like that everyday guy voice. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's something you should trademark. But yeah, it's and you know this is the fun we have having you on the show. You know, people are like, "Oh, you had that guy on 6 times?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you know he's awesome. You know,
Thank you.
and
And I
and
love being here. Believe me, I've been on. I'm always honored when I'm asked to be on a show. I'm doubly honored when I'm asked to be back for a second time.
mhm.
But I mean, you and I have just had this friendship. We've never actually met in person.
Yeah,
Our
you don't even look
energies
like
just
that in real
met.
life.
I know. It's the trick of the light. Plus the red, what's now referred to by some of my clients as, oh my gosh, you're wearing that red webinar shirt,
Yeah,
which
and
which lives
I
in the
got this
studio.
one too. Didn't even plan it. I did a
Mhm.
podcast earlier today with this shirt on, and I realized that I had interviewed this person like 2 years ago. I was wearing the same shirt.
Yeah. Well, I got the hanger right up there at the other end of the barn board wall in the back, and it's this shirt and tie are on there ready to go. And I come down and I was telling a dear friend of mine, she goes, how do you set up for all your calls and interviews? I go, well, okay, starting at about 3 minutes before,
Yeah,
probably not wearing a shirt. And I'm racing around here in the studio and putting the lights on and all that. And then I said, I throw on the red webinar shirt, zip up the tie because it's usually tied, zip it back up, hope my collar is pointing in a weird direction, rock and roll. Here we go.
and we'll never see below the waistline.
Always wear pants. It's
Oh,
just
I
a good rule of
swear.
thumb. I've already predicted the first time I'm up in front of 1,000 people, I'm just going to stare at the back wall and say, this is, I'm just getting my legs back under me here. Can someone just indicate if I'm wearing pants? Because I'm just going to stand. I don't dare look down. Because I think people need that now. Let's just let's address the elephant in the room. Hey, it's
Mm,
not a perfect world right now. I get it. So many people are running around saying, this is terrible, the worst thing that happened. Well, last year, 2020, was one of my toughest years in business. But here's the thing, and this is the gift. I challenge people to do this for 7 days. Wake up every morning and think of one good thing that happened the previous day. Gratitude exercise, simple stuff. And some people say, oh, gratitude, blah, blah, blah. I wrote down 1,000 reasons why last year did not completely suck, because I write 3 a day. I write my 3
wow.
favorite moments from the previous day.
Mhm.
And whenever I would get down, I said, wow, this year's really tough. It's a whole new model. I've had to create all this stuff virtually versus live.
Right.
And then I would read my gratitudes and think of the simple things that I was grateful for. My wife and I were both healthy all year. We took precautions and we just played it smart. We both love working from home. And just I just saw the better thing, the better side of whatever I could. And by the end of the year, I added them up. It was close to 1,000. So when people say, my year sucked, how was yours, Steve? I'm like, I got 1,000 reasons why it didn't suck.
Yeah, and that could be a fantastic book that you hand out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
'cause and I think people need to realize that, you know, I had COVID for like 2 weeks,
yeah,
from August or, in the beginning of August.
yeah.
I lost 30 pounds and people are like, "Well, didn't COVID almost kill you?" I said, "Yeah, but I feel healthy now. I lost weight."
Yeah. You found the good, find the silver lining. And it doesn't mean it's, rah, 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 everything's great. No, everything's not great. One of my dearest friends, and one of my mentors for 3 years we worked together, passed away in March from COVID. And I miss him. I think about him every day and I'm thankful for him. And I still talk to him every now and then. If I do something that didn't quite, that pulled a wily coyote and blew up in my face, I'll look up, I go, you're laughing your ass off right now, aren't you? Yep. Okay. Two of our best friends are just getting over it now. They're finally back to work. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't get bent out of shape about it. I don't scream about it. It's an imperfect world. And nobody's opinion is 100% right. And nobody has 100% of the facts. So I just stay above the noise and do what I do the best I can every day and be the best version of myself and help other people and add value. And yeah, just like you, I make people laugh every day.
Yeah, I watched, I think it was the news or something, and it said that the big cosmetic company Lush was getting off of social media because they didn't like the environment. It was getting too much for them, and it was leading to too many, you know, mental breakdowns for their customers. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, you could do one of two things. You can leave social media because you don't like the environment, or you can stay and help try to change the environment. They bailed,
Yeah.
and they said, we don't need that. We're going to create our own culture. Well, their sales are already starting to dip. They're already starting to feel it, and it's only been a week or two,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We're just going to take our ball and go home. Well, I don't agree with everything that happens in social media, but you know what I did? I weeded out my news feed. I unfollowed certain people. I unfriended certain people.
Mhm.
I blocked certain people. And it's not because I'm going la 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 la. I want it to be all ice cream and marshmallows in my corner of the world. I just realized these people aren't adding any value for me, and they're consistently and constantly just trying to tear down. And I don't need that crap. I prefer to surround myself with other entrepreneurs or people who are at least positive minded. Again, not the unicorns and rainbows crowd, because I don't dig that either. I don't live in that world. But at least the people that are striving for something, trying for something, trying to leave as many situations a day better than you find it. You see somebody down, you don't step on them or pile on them. You reach out and pick them up. And my
Yeah.
feed is 1,000 times better than it was a couple of years ago.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't I
and
don't cringe anymore when I look at my news feed.
yeah, people read my stories, they read my books, and they're like, "How do you even have any friends?" Because they're all blocking you and they're unfriending you. I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm maxed out on Facebook, so I can afford to lose a few."
Yeah. Yeah, really, just making room for that next one to come sneaking in the door, and, you just must see it someday where you get that instant message that goes, "Hi," and you must go, "Ooh."
Yeah.
Like there's someone across the net bouncing a tennis ball that's just about to lob it right into your world so you can smack it right back between their eyes.
Well, with LinkedIn, um, every time I have a connection, I always send an intro video, and it basically says, I don't like pitches,
Mhm.
blah blah blah. But it's a very friendly intro video.
Mm,
It's 15 seconds long, and then
yeah.
I have a little transcript. So if they can't watch the video, they can read it.
Mhm.
And most people say, "Rob, that's a brilliant video." Then I always get that one or two person that 10
Yep.
minutes after I send it, they're pitching me something. I'm like,
Yeah.
you didn't read, you didn't watch the video, you didn't read what I put.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's just automatic. Pitch, pitch, pitch. Build
Yeah.
the conversation, get to know people,
Mhm.
and then you can always slide that pitch in.
Yeah.
But that's always an afterthought, you know. I come to you because I want to learn. I don't. Hey, Steve, you want to buy my stuff? No. Okay. Well, f you. I'm unfriending you. But that's what it is on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and Facebook too. Sometimes connect. Hey, you. No. Unfriend.
Yeah. I used to have a response. I'll have to find it. It was in an old laptop. It was a graphic that I created for people that were just trying to pitch me all the time. It just said, "Hey, look, I don't know who taught you this as a sales technique, but I think it sucks." And I would just attach that. I would give them 10, 15 minutes, and then I would just block them
Yeah.
after that. But and people say, "Well, I'm playing the numbers." Like, well,
Yeah.
this number is expired.
Yeah. I don't get that either because yeah, I understand. Hey, your list is your asset. I mean, you got to constantly talk to your list.
Yep.
Yes, have a conversation with your list, but don't pitch them every single day.
Yeah.
And when they say, well, it's a numbers game. Okay, well, I bet I can do better with 10 people than you could with a million with what you're
Mhm.
doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to know, like, and trust. And people go, "Oh, that's old school, or that's trite, or it's everything, man." And I'm old school. I mean, I come from people that ethical, moral, integrity is number one. It's right up there in the charts. Treat others as you wish to be treated. So I can't go out and spam a bunch of people. I would never do that. I would never try to hard close somebody who's I've not earned their trust yet, or at least let them see testimonials or whatever about people just like them that I've been able to help. But I don't go in and steamroll people and say, what's half off today? It's kind of like the Black Friday stuff. Somebody said, "Hey, Steve, where's your Black Friday offer?" Don't have one. Why not? Because my stuff's valuable 365 days a year, and I'm not pimping it for half price of one day where everybody's buying everybody else's program. I'm not going to do a damn thing with it.
Right.
I want my people to succeed. It's not just a numbers game to me. I want impact for people because I've earned my reputation after all these years, and I don't want to wind up gathering dust on somebody's shelf, even a digital shelf. I want to create impact with everything I do because my heart and soul are in it. And I was my first client, so I know it can work if you do the work.
No pimping allowed.
No pimping allowed. Nope. They said, well, that was on Friday. And they go, what about Cyber Monday?
Nope.
No.
No cyber pimping.
No cyber pimping. I just don't get it. I said, that's actually an insult to everybody who's invested at full price. And my programs are not cheap. This is not, someone said the other day, Steve, your program's, wow, it's $1,000 now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's a book I can get on Amazon that says how to make a vision board for $12. I go, hell, buy it.
Go get it.
Go get it. And then a year from now, I want us to get back on the phone and you tell me what you've achieved this year.
Yeah.
And no matter what my program is priced at a year from now, you can have it for $1,000.
Mhm.
It's my Cyber Pimp Monday deal.
Cyber Pimp Monday.
And it's funny because people, they often come back and, their head down and they're like, like the dog that realizes you are actually trying to teach something. And they're kind of doing that head tilt and that guilty look. And they're like, yeah, I read that book. I'm like, did it go as deeply as I did? No, it said to find pictures in magazines and slap them on a poster board and my future would be secure. I'm like, how many pages was it? 68? I go, what the hell did it say on the other 67 pages? Well, there were pictures of people's vision boards. Oh, okay. No exercises, no assessments, no digging. Nope. Okay. Hope it was worth the $12. Not really.
Yeah. Take that vision board to the bank and see what they say.
Yep. So, well, if it's cold and your furnace, breaks down, I said, light that vision board on fire. It'll keep you warm for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Might as well just take it to the pawn shop because you're going to get like $5 for it.
Take it to the recycling center.
See, we could do this all day, and
Yeah.
I'm
And it's
sure.
gotten to the point where I do that too. It's, people say, well, Steve, there's this other program out there. And at this point, well, then go buy it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell you it's great or it's trash because I have a lot of respect for people in my industry. We all have different opinions and ways we do what we do. Same with you,
Mhm.
because I've read in several of your books. Well, Rob, this person says they'll do it for this. Good, hire them.
Good.
And then in
Yep.
6 months, when they've dropped the ball and you come back to me, here's my rate's going to be then.
Yeah, and they still couldn't afford me. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we
it's
really want to work with you. Well, here's my price. We can't afford that, but we really want to work with you. Well, I'm sorry. What do you want me to do?
yeah. And as I said this before in a previous episode, it's all about control.
Mhm.
We as entrepreneurs need to control the situation. When we allow someone else to dictate what they expect us to do, we've lost their all credibility. And I learned this early on when I was had a cleaning company,
Mhm.
and a lot of my clients were women. They were divorced women. I'd walk in their home. My primary job was to clean their carpet. They'd be bossing me around. And I'm like, I'm just taking it because I want to get paid.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I got beat by this person. I got beat by this person. I got ripped off. I had no control. And I was like, and then as I started to kind of get some self confidence, I walked back into these, no, no, no. And then they just look at me like, oh, okay, well, how much to do that? Now I'm in control because I'm, and
Yeah.
it was just, you have to do that in your business.
Yep.
And, uh, you know, without you having some type of, and it's not about ego. Let's
Mhm.
leave the ego at the door or in my books because I enjoy having an ego too. But sometimes it's just about looking at your numbers, knowing that you need to feed your family or put money in the bank or you got retirement or whatever. you have to take some semblance of control and take over the situation.
Mhm. Yep, and be able to not get ruffled when they wanna
Right.
parry and thrust and, negotiate. I mean, do I offer people deals on occasion? Well, what we'll do is we'll just reconfigure the offer
Right.
and make it in some way that it can fit. Maybe we don't have the follow-up coaching. Maybe we do this. Maybe we do a virtual thing instead of me flying somewhere to be there in person. And
Mhm.
we can adjust. But when it's just ridiculous and you know, so many times over the years, and I say this because it's happened so many times, boy, for somebody who talks about positivity, you're being really negative right now. Why? Because I won't cut my budget to the bone and devalue myself to accommodate you because you don't want to pay,
Right.
even though I know you're paying this other person a huge amount of money and that's why you don't have any left. You mean that?
Mhm.
I am a nice person. My family and I have our own 501c3. We've made up to 1,500 bag lunches a year for homeless and in need veterans out of 3 kitchens with 3 people.
Mhm.
So don't tell me I'm not nice just because I won't, bow down and compromise because that's disrespectful to all of my clients who have been super loyal and invested in me. I just can't,
Right.
and I won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they see it that way, oh, okay, or then they'll laugh and go, I just had to try.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and if they were cool about it, I'll just laugh with them. But then sometimes I'm like, well, why'd you do that? You just pissed me off. You got me off my game, and I don't like. Just don't do that with me.
Right.
Please don't. I don't play games with people, and I don't like to have games played with me.
Yeah.
Let's just be professionals. Let's be adults. Let's have a conversation. If we can make it work, I would love to make it work because there's a lot of people I really would like to work with, but we're just not in the right ballpark
Yeah.
together. And I can't do that. It's a disrespect to my clients.
Yeah.
And that's where I go with it because I have a ton of respect. Some of my clients, like I said, have been with me 13 years.
And to do what you do in the manner that you do it, because you got this nonprofit that you feed people, you need to be able to charge what you're worth over here so that you can help people over here.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that.
Yeah.
You know, they wow, you can do this for me for a lower price, and I'll tell all my friends. Well, if your friends are anything like you, I don't want them.
I've actually said that before. I'm like, why? So I can get more people beating me up for a deal.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go Xerox the coupon and just say that I honored it? Go go drop it in your neighborhood off your drone.
Yeah, it's a crazy world we're living in, but
Yeah.
take advice from Steve, listen to what he's doing, sign up for his vision board mastery, and what is the website that they go to?
If they go to motivationalfirewood.com and go to the products page, you can see all the stuff we have there. And it's funny because we added the friends don't let friends attend vision boards t-shirt to the products page because again somebody thought it was funny when I wore mine. Steve, can I buy one of those? Yeah, add it to the products page, and that's where the vision board mastery program is at the top of that page.
And it's selling. People are buying it.
Yeah. Yep. And
That's
there's not a
great.
coupon code, so don't even ask. I figured it out too because somebody said recently, "Well, Steve, I don't know if I can afford that." I said, "Do you drink coffee?" "Yeah, I get one every morning." It costs you about $3.32 a day for a year to own my program forever and benefit from the knowledge and the habits and the skills and the muscles you build for the rest of your life. It's the price of an affordable cup of coffee per day. And then there was a married couple that wanted to do it. I said, great. It's $1.63 a day each, or whatever the math was. It was pretty close.
Yeah,
They
I
go,
mean, if you guys go,
oh,
and I know so many of you go to Starbucks, you get your cup of coffee, you
oh
get your
my
breakfast
gosh.
sandwich, you're dropping $10, and then you go back for another coffee later in the day.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are dropping $15 a day at Starbucks. If
Oh
you
God,
just,
thousands a year in
yeah,
Starbucks. And now you're diabetic and because you've had so much sugar and now you've got all the health issues, whether or not, I mean, you actually are diabetic, but you got all these health issues related to all that sugar. And it's just not a good thing. I'm not a coffee drinker. I wake up out of a cannon like this. Now I like my little 5-hour energy, one per day. And that gets me through the mid afternoon. And I'm good with that. somebody a few years ago, I was dropping off some books that she had bought, and I had a 5-hour with me, and she goes, "That stuff's gonna kill you." And I just looked straight at her. I said, "Do you realize you put down your cigarette to tell me that? And how many cups of coffee is that?" And it was like 2 in the afternoon. She goes, "That's like I don't know, my seventh or my ninth." I'm like, "Hello, pot. I'm the kettle. You're back." Like, don't even tell me if you put down your cigarette and you're on your seventh or ninth cup of coffee that, this little energy drink is going to take me down. I don't think so. Deal in reality here.
Dealing in reality.
Now, 3 days after I'm dead, my kneecaps will still be chattering the inside of my casket, but I'm not going to worry about that.
I like that. I mean, dealing in reality. That should be a T-shirt because with all this virtual crap, I can't. Oh, you got to join the meta world.
Yep.
No, I deal in reality.
I'm just dealing in reality over here.
So that's what makes Steve an hero, and it's the whole Gamlin effect, the whole picture. I mean, he said it. He gets shot out of a cannon every morning.
Yep.
He's ready to go.
Yep.
So I want you guys to be ready to go. I want you guys to get on your vision board and just have a profitable future because I know that you want it, but you got to learn how to go get it. So,
Yeah.
adios. We'll see you on the next one.